Hello, everyone, and welcome to the April 15th, 2015 episode of Balls Deep Sports Talk. I am your host, Scotty Ball, and thanks for tuning in this evening. I am happy and thankful to be coming to you tonight, as I do every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on Northern Lights Radio at WNLMradio.com. Coming up on tonight's show, we got all kinds of things to talk about, including what took place this past Thursday through Sunday at Augusta National, where all of us watching were witness to a historical performance, which I will get more into in a little bit. We will also be discussing and previewing the NHL playoffs, which start tonight. Now, just to be clear, there are 4 first-round games tonight, and then the remaining first-round games will be played tomorrow night. If you're a Minnesota Wild fan, the game you are waiting for is, in fact, tomorrow night. It is not tonight. And for those of you who might happen to be unaware, depending on where you're listening from, I am a Minnesota native, lifelong. And I will focus some parts of the show from time to time specifically on Minnesota sports teams, Minnesota sports players, Minnesota sports activities, and sports news. But anyway, like I said, we got hockey playoffs to talk about. We also got the end of the NBA regular season / the NBA playoffs starting to discuss as well. Now, the last game of the NBA regular season is tonight, so there are some huge, very significant games being played to determine who's in the playoffs, who's out of the playoffs, what seeds the different teams have, matchups, what have you. So we'll be discussing that as well. We will also be discussing the current baseball season and the Twins' woes. Not in too much detail, because there ain't a whole lot to discuss there, but we will talk a little bit of baseball. We will definitely be talking NFL news. There's plenty to talk about in the NFL. Aaron Hernandez amongst topics, as well as the upcoming draft. Now, I will be going over part 2 of my 4-part NFL draft special. Last week was part 1, where we briefly touched on draft strategies, understanding the draft and how it works and how to work it from a coach, GM, organization's perspective as opposed to just a fan's. So for this week in part 2, changed up my initial strategy or plan just a little bit, and I am going to be bringing to you, or shall I say we will be going over in depth the team by team needs in the upcoming draft. So again, just to sum that up, the NFL Draft Preview Part 2 tonight will be about team needs. Now next week in Part 3 of the NFL Draft Preview, we will be getting to know the likely first-round players or the first-round candidate caliber talent players in the upcoming draft. And then finally, the week after that, I will be unveiling my complete first-round mock draft on April 29th, the night before the NFL draft on Thursday, April 30th. Also, we'll try and squeeze in just a little bit of WWE news and opinion thoughts on what's going on there, maybe a little bit of college basketball, and if we got time for anything else, we'll see what we can squeeze in. And as always, we will be ending the show with our Balls Deep thought of the day. However, before we get started with our first segment, which I call Balls on Fire, I just got to get a few quick show plugs, thank yous, whatnots out of the way quick, and then we'll get into our first topic. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to any Spartans who might happen to be listening to this week's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in every week. I appreciate it. Now, if you have a team or a friend or you yourself would just like to get a shout out on the show, a great way to do that would be to follow the show on Twitter at BDST Show. You can also like me and friend me on Facebook. I have 2 different pages. They're both under Scotty-Ball. Now, these social media sites, especially the Twitter, are also great ways to communicate with me. Let me know what your thoughts are about different topics we have here on the show. Give me any questions you got, and I can work them into the show. Let me know what you'd like me to talk more about or less about. But on the Twitter, I retweet a lot of current sports news, so it's a really great, easy way for me to help keep you guys informed on what's going on from day to day, even though I only come to you on the show once a week. And I also like to do live tweeting during different sporting events, and especially WWE, Monday Night Raw, and pay-per-views. But again, I highly recommend following the show on Twitter, and you can do that by simply going to Twitter and searching @BDST Show. Or if Facebook's your thing, search Scotty-Ball. Another benefit of following me on Twitter, following the show on Twitter, and liking the show on Facebook is that after the show airs from 9 to 10, 10:15, whenever the heck I stop ranting, but when it stops airing every Wednesday night on Northern Lights Radio at WNLMradio.com, it is uploaded to SoundCloud, and from there I repost the link to SoundCloud on Facebook and Twitter, so you can just click on that link and re-listen to the show anytime you like, or if you happen to miss it on a Wednesday night, you can just go to the Facebook or the Twitter, scroll down the page a little bit, and click on the SoundCloud link, and you can listen to it on Thursday or Friday or whenever you get the chance to. And then just one final thank you to Nick and Adam at Northern Lights Radio for all the work they do at the station, keeping everything going, up and running, all the stuff they do. So thank you guys as well. But all right, let's get into the show, shall we? All right, well, here on Balls Deep Sports Talk, we open every show with our first segment, which I call Balls on Fire. This week, what has me the most on fire is something that's very near and dear to me personally, and that is golf. That is right. Not only am I a golf fan, as far as a sports fan watching it, following it professionally, competitively, but it is also something that I love to do with every minute of my spare time that I can devote to it. So being someone who lives in the great state of Minnesota, I get maybe 5 good months a year where I can actually golf comfortably, enjoyably, May through September. And then the other 7 months I get to shovel snow. But it just so happens that spring is pretty much here. The weather's getting nice outside. The golf courses are open, looking beautiful, calling my name every time I drive by one. And it's been since last fall when I last played yet, so I very much have the itch. I have the golf bug. It's that time of year. And last weekend, Thursday through Sunday, was golf's biggest annual event tournament of its season, and that would be the Masters tournament at Augusta National down in Georgia. Now, one of my favorite things about the Masters tournament, and this is in all of sports, is it has, to me, one of the coolest awards, trophies, prizes for the winner that exists in all of sports, and that's the green jacket. That's right, these guys, they're not playing for some big shiny trophy or medal or something like that. They're playing for this, what a lot of fashion-minded people, I would assume at least, would call a hideously, hideous-looking green jacket. That's the big prize, is a green jacket. And I just think that's freaking cool. Not because it's, because some people would think it's ugly or anything like that, but just because of how creative and unique and rare of an item something like that is. I love it. I think it adds an element of character and style and class, and it helps create a tradition unlike any other the Masters. Sorry, I heard a lot of those promos over this last weekend. They're still stuck in my head a little bit. I apologize, but anyway, this year's Masters tournament not only lived up to the annual, let alone specific to this year's tournament's hype and interest level, but in my opinion, it far surpassed it. And that's because there were several factors, several things that contributed to that, not just the winner of the tournament or one or two specific storylines. There was so much going on in this tournament that for me, as someone who watches the golf season throughout the entire season, not just the majors, and I watch year after year, I watch the golf season. As someone who can say that, this was one of the most, let's say, compelling. One of the most compelling Masters tournaments as a watch for me in several years. Now, the obvious response to that, or what one could simply and obviously take away from that, would be that, oh, that's because Tiger Woods was not only playing, but was playing well and competing. That's because of Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was there. Tiger Woods played well. That's why. Tiger Woods was just one small part, one small aspect, one very small story out of a giant slew of very interesting stories and historic stories and unique stories that occurred over the 4 days at the Masters this last weekend. But before I get too deep into opinions, philosophies, things like that, I should probably go over exactly what happened in the tournament before I get too deep into what I think about everything. So, if you hadn't heard or simply forgot, because it might be a new name to many people, but the winner of the 2015 Masters tournament was 21-year-old Jordan Spieth. Now, for the record, I had Jordan Spieth as my number 2 guy on my new generation studs section of my Masters preview cheat sheet ranking thing that I did. And I did say that I did predict that one of the tournament was going to be won by one of these new generation studs. I chose Jason Day, who was in second place after Thursday's first opening round, right behind Jordan Spieth, who on the opening round of the tournament on Thursday tied the course record by shooting an 8 under par 64. And then on that first day, I want to say Jason Day finished in second place at 5 under par. So I was loving my pick. I'm looking at the leaderboard going, great, my guy's in second place. The guy who's in first place after day one never wins hardly ever, especially at a Masters or something like that. This is perfect. My guy's playing great. He'll keep playing good. Awesome. Nope. I apologize. Jason Day did not win the Masters tournament. I hope nobody bet too much money or any money. Shouldn't gamble if it's illegal. But not all of it is. So, but anyway, I hope I didn't cost anybody too much with my Jason Day Masters victory prediction. He did finish inside the top 30, I want to say, something like that. But it fell off the wheels fell off for him on Friday. But he was sitting good after round one. But like I said, Jordan Spieth was sitting there at 8 under par, tied for the course record after the first round. What I specifically said about him, why I didn't pick him to win it, when I went over my picks last week, was he had shown some tendency here and there to not be able to close out tournaments. Well, that was not a problem for him at all. He went out on Friday and shot another